What is poppin' YouTube? Back again with another video. Today we're doing an NFL Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft. I'm going to be bringing in my friend Jordan, but without further ado, let us get started. And welcoming into the stream, we have good old Jordan. Jordan, how are you doing?
Doing great. It has been a while since I've been on, and I am happy to be back on talking some rookies.
We are absolutely enthralled and glad that you're back. I mean, the channel's been just begging for you. We've been begging for shirtless tank tops. Like, it's kind of cold right now in Indiana, so we weren't able to do that. But maybe sometime this summer we will
Still not getting
the fan base. Goodness gracious. Well, let's talk landing spots. We're using Dan Brugler's mock draft. He did a 7th round mock draft with the Athletic. It's behind a paywall, but we decided, I somehow had access, so we decided to pull some of these picks. So 101, Bryce Young to the Panthers, CJ Stroud to the Texans, Anthony Richardson to the Colts, Will Levis to the Titans at 111, so falling in the mock draft. You'd probably prefer Will Levis to fall past your Colts, right? Then we had Bijan Robinson at 116, JSN at 120. At 121, we had Dalton Kincaid. At the 22nd pick, we had Zay Flowers to the Baltimore Ravens, Jordan Addison to the Giants, Michael Mayer to the Cowboys. Then QJ falls all the way to the second round for the Texans, Jahmyr Gibbs to the Cardinals, Hendon Hooker to the Seahawks, Jalen Hyatt to the Saints, Luke Musgrave to the Packers, Josh Downs to the Patriots, Keely Ringo. He's been getting a ton of buzz in NFL camps right now, potentially to be a first rounder, goes to the Commanders, Darnell Washington to the Lions, Tucker Kraft to the Jags, Cedric Tillman to the Bills, Zach Charbonnet at the end of the second round to the Bengals. That feels like a really good landing spot for Zach Charbonnet. Tyler Scott to the Chiefs. Then we got A-Chain to the Broncos, Laporta to the Raiders, Mingo to the Titans, Tank Bigsby to the Rams, Marvin Mims to the Colts, Rashawn Johnson to the Bucks, Tank Dell to the Vikings, and then Kendre Miller to the Giants. Any of these players stick out to you about landing spots, Jordan?
Yes, as a Colts fan, Richardson, love that. Will Levis to the Titans is a thing I can see happening. Some also really good landing spots. I think Dalton Kincaid to the Chargers would be a lot of fun. Jordan Addison could get a lot of volume with Giants.
But anyway, let us jump into this draft, Jordan. I will give you the 101.
Too much
take
draft
it away.
Going on.
Jordan, who are you taking at the 101?
With the 101, I'm taking Bijan Robinson, to no one's surprise. I don't know if I want to quite generational running back on, but he's the best we've seen since Saquon. He's better than Breece Hall last year. Very, very few holes in this game. If you watch him, he's a tank. He's got speed. He's got burst. He can beat you anyway. He can do it all. He can catch passes. He can run actual routes and not just get dump offs. He can do it all. Great player. And I don't think his landing spot even matters.
No, 100%. You can't go wrong with Bijan. We don't need to harp on it. Everyone's been talking about him as a 101, so definitely agree with you there. Now, at the 102, I think it's interesting for me. And just based on landing spots and where I project, I'm taking Anthony Richardson. It feels like, of course, the safer pick is Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, but if I'm this bad, I have to take the upside shot. And so I am drafting Anthony Richardson. And I knew he wasn't going to make it back to me, especially if we're going 1-2, 1-2. So had to take A Rich.
Yeah, you know me. I'm going to take Bryce Young because I just like the landing spot better, if I'm being honest. Love Frank Reich as a head coach. I think he will do wonders. And I also just have no faith in the Texans as an organization. And I think Bryce is a baller. Yeah, there's height concerns. He scares me a lot, but I do think the ceiling is higher. I think Bryce Young's ceiling is higher than CJ Stroud's. I think if he hits, I think he could be, a top 8 dynasty quarterback. So I'm shooting for the upside at the 3rd pick.
I'm with you. I love me some Bryce Young, especially if he does get that first overall draft capital. At the 104, I'm going to be taking CJ Stroud. You know me, Ohio State Buckeye fan. I loved what he did at the combine, what he did at his pro day. I think there's just a lot of questions about where he maybe is calling play wise, mentally. Can he do audibles at the huddle? Things along that nature. But I mean, if we're talking pure arm talent, I think he's got the best arm in the class. And so getting him at the 104 feels like kind of like a steal, especially when he's going in the second round of startups already.
I agree. Great player. And I think the Georgia game showed that he's got mobility too, which is even better for fantasy football purposes.
Preach. The Georgia game was cherry on top.
It was beautiful. I was completely out on him until the Georgia game, and that definitely changed my mind.
Makes you excited about the potential that CJ Stroud does have. Who are you taking at the 105?
I'm not overthinking it. I'm taking Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm taking the other Buckeye, undisputed wide receiver one in this class, in my opinion. What he did his junior, or I guess it was sophomore year, it's hard to talk about how good it was. And it's not just the Utah game. It's not just the bowl game. All season long, great player. Doesn't have a lot of holes in his game. People talk about him as a slot guy. He's way more than that. Tested great at the combine. I think it was his 3-cone was like ungodly numbers. Like it's just stupid how quick and agile he is.
You're speaking my language. I love me some JSN. Love the pick there at the 105. At the 106, I'm actually going to be taking Jahmyr Gibbs. Of course, I have a little bit of a tier here with Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Will Levis. Decided to go Gibbs over Levis. Even in a Superflex league, I think I just don't love the landing spot with the Titans, knowing might be there for an offense. I mean, of course, he's throwing to Treylon Burks, and I like that, but I feel like it's kind of desolate. So I will take Gibbs with the Arizona Cardinals. Hopefully he gets Kyler back in his second year and things are humming for him. So Jahmyr Gibbs is my pick at the 106.
I'm going to go receiver again and take Jordan Addison because I like that where he landed a lot in that mock draft. I'm pretty out on Levis personally. I like Addison to the Giants. They need a guy, and I think he can step up and be that guy, especially this season. And I think he could long term. I think he's a pretty safe pick. I don't see him busting. Even if he doesn't live up to expectations, I don't think he's going to bust. Whereas I think Levis could be a bust. Quentin Johnston could be a bust. I don't see Addison being that. I feel like he's pretty safe.
No, I definitely agree with you. Jordan Addison's still, even though he had a terrible combine, terrible like measurables and speed score and everything like that, like we saw the talent. He's still a Blitnikoff winner for the Pittsburgh when he was playing with Kenny Pickett. And then of course last year with Caleb Williams. Dude's a stud. I do not hate you at all taking him over Will Levis, but I can't let the man fall any further. There goes Will Levis, the Mayo man at the 108. You got to take a first round quarterback. We're talking Superflex, and especially if you're getting him at the 108, you potentially made the playoffs or you're a middling team where getting someone like Will Levis, who's right now going in startups around the 5th round, even if we don't know what that high-end upside is going to be for Will Levis, we suck at evaluating quarterbacks in Dynasty. So we're going to let the NFL deal with that. And if he gets the first-round draft capital, which he probably will, then we'll definitely have to take him top 8. So that's my take on Will Levis.
Even I would take him at 8. Even though I'm not in on him, I would take him at 8 if he was there. With the next pick, I think pick number 9?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet. Maybe not my running back 3, but if he gets drafted to the Bengals, I'm going to assume that Joe Mixon probably won't be there. Certainly not long term. And I like Charbonnet enough. He's in my kind of 3rd tier. I think Bijan is in a tier of his own, and then Gibbs is in a tier of his own. But then Charbonnet is kind of in the mix next. And I like him a lot. I think he could get a lot of usage. You see him, you see his measurables, you think, he's just a first and second down between the tackles guy, but he's more than that. He can jump to the outside a little bit, and he can catch passes pretty well. I do like Zach Charbonnet.
You stole my man. I was going to take Zach Charbonnet, especially with him getting the 2nd round draft capital, especially to the Bengals. All wheels up for Zach Charbonnet. I will go at the 110. I will let my man stop falling. Zay Flowers, 110. Climbing up NFL draft boards, but still landing on the Baltimore Ravens doesn't feel great. But can Zay Flowers be the new Hollywood Brown for Lamar Jackson? Yes, he can. Won't have to be a main target from the beginning. Gets to play off of Mark Andrews and now Odell Beckham Jr. Love me some Zay. Draft on talent. We're not drafting off the landing spot. There maybe would be some more sexy wide receiver landing spots, but just take talent all day, every day, and that's why I'm drafting Zay Flowers.
Especially at the wide receiver position. Running backs, maybe landing spot matters a little bit more, but receivers, they've got longer career. I'm going to take a tight end, and I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid. I really like Dalton Kincaid. Great receiving tight end. I know he's a little further down the sleeper ADP. I don't care. I think he's that good. And I think in the Chargers offense, he could feast. I think that he's exactly what they could use. And I just really like him. He catches passes so well, runs seam routes. Really good player.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think I've taken the approach this offseason that no matter where a tight end gets drafted, no matter how sexy of a landing spot, like Michael Mayer for the Green Bay Packers, or Michael Mayer for the Cincinnati Bengals, or like Dalton Kincaid to the Cincinnati Bengals, I just think unless I know that I really need tight end. Like, I just don't know how I feel about any of these guys because I feel like I can always take a shot in the second round, which I'm not critiquing your pick by any means.
And I think you can. Absolutely. I think there are a lot of really good tight ends in this class. I think this says more about the receivers, about the fact that I took Kincaid over some of these guys.
Well, and especially the running back landing spots as well. And not as many running backs getting top 3 round draft capital. At 112, I'll let the drop stop. I'll draft QJ. I know he goes to the Houston Texans in the second round. The one thing that I will say about QJ is he reminds me, and this is like a weird comparison that I've started to see. Like, he reminds me a little bit of T. Higgins. Now, T. Higgins is a little bit bigger of a receiver, was able to go up and get it a little bit more for the Clemson Tigers in college than QJ was for the TCU. We're again, like, he was so high for some people. Pre-draft process had him as the wide receiver 1 based on film, based on his production, of course, playing not in maybe the best conference in college and all sorts of stuff like that. And people are getting reminders of Jalen Reagor because of how he was like the last good prospect from TCU to come out a wide receiver. But you have to take the talent here, and especially drafted with the Houston Texans will be thrown the ball by CJ Stroud. They're all lines getting decently solid. New coaching staff, new coaching regime. So I feel pretty good about this spot. There are a couple of other receivers and players that I was considering, but you can't let QJ fall out of the first round.
Yeah, I think he's worth the risk at the 112.